welcome to the Coalition. We will be talking about Creature Commandos, episode 1 through 4, or as Danny Martinez, who I am joined with, would say is the greatest TV show that has ever existed in the land of TV shows and animation. When he saw this, he was like, yes, this is exactly what the DC studio needs.
Cancel
I am so
everything
happy they got
else.
cancel everything. We got rid of Black Adam. We got rid of Henry Cavill. We got rid of all of the other Supermenses and Batmenses, except for the Robert Pattinson. He even said they can get rid of Robert Pattinson because this show is even better than what Robert Pattinson could ever do in his life. So, as I stated, I am your host, and I am joined by Mr. Denny Martinez right now. How are you feeling, Mr. Denny Martinez?
Good. I am just finding out now all these voices for Creature Commandos, so I'm educating myself at the moment while we talk about this. But I'm loving the show. I'm loving the show. I dropped the ball and haven't looked at voice actors for who's voicing what.
He doesn't pay attention to opening credits.
Yeah, no.
So, for anyone's wondering,
No, I don't
big
know
splashes of who's
if
the name.
anybody's an anime fan, but I still don't keep track of opening credits. But I am obsessed with this anime called Dandadan, and it has the best anime intro I've ever heard in my entire life, and I never skip it whatsoever. But I still have no clue who's doing what.
Ladies and gentlemen, the American mind, right there. So, I guess we're just dive right on in here. There are 4 episodes. They are less than 30 minutes each. Some even being kind of like 20 to 16. So, finding that sweet spot for each episode where we don't have to draw out and have something for 30 minutes per episode, but they're finding its own little comfort spot. This is the first phase of the new DC Studios, ushered in by James Gunn. These will feature characters that we see both in the show and will be in live action. And right off the bat, we saw the Superman trailer yesterday that we talked about, or at least the day before. I'm not sure. Days are escaping me, but we have that Ultraman mentioned right there in the first episode, which we already know is going to be a part of Superman. So my big question to you is, this is the introduction of the James World universe. Are we intrigued? Do we want more? And even though this is an animated, is this a good way to kind of say hello?
I think it's a good way. It's I man, it's a conflict that I have in my head about whether introducing this entire new universe, starting off with an animated show as opposed to like a live action thing, and that's mostly because it's cartoony. Even though it's graphic, it's adult, it's bloody, it's violent, but it's still fun. It's just the fact that it's still just a cartoon makes it a weird start. um it's a jarring start because we know we're gonna see a live action Superman. We're gonna see a live action Batman one day. I'm hearing rumors that they might even do a live action Clayface like horror type movie. We got the Penguin show that we talked about before. So these are live actions. Well, I guess the Penguins is going to be Elseworlds because that's different. It's a different universe altogether. But still, it's just weird. But and especially because it's starting again, James Gunn starting a cast of characters that nobody really knows about, and we're gonna start loving them and stuff, and hopefully, it works out to connect with the rest of the universe. But I like it. It's definitely different, and it sets up the fact that this universe in general is more fantastical. It's not grounded, dark, brooding realism. It's a lot. It's still adult, but it's still bright and colorful and fun and just fantastical. And I think we've missed that for a very, very long time. So I'm kind of glad that it's kind of back. And this show really proves that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. This is first of the phase of the gods and monsters, and that's kind of what we're getting. We're getting Frankenstein and Bride. Who would think of that being, this is a DC show, Frankenstein, Bride. So
Yeah.
we have that, and we have, the regular humans, Amela Waller, who's a terrible person, and all of these other different creatures, Weasel that would is, James Gunn loves his brother, so we're gonna get a Weasel somewhere any day. So where we are getting that, and I do appreciate that, and kind of going what you said, it does open this world and this space with, such brightness, different, that fantastical element where not everything is so you're destroyed by Homeland and I'm sad and depressed, and we're going through struggles. So it is wonderful, and it's lovely to see everything not in slow motion, and the fact that we can see things. So I do like that. But DC before Peter Safran and James Gunn got there, we did have shows like Harley Quinn, which is you know bright and colorful and crazy and a bit on the it is fantastical, but at the same time very grounding. So I do feel that that is kind of, in terms of animation, we're continuing with that. I was not prepared for the tone. It is kind of weird to see like a Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of an animated version, but this is now DC. Um, there is a massive difference. It is more adult themed, which I appreciate that. Poor Rick Flag Sr. darn near gets, I can't say the word, but say sexually assaulted. Like just right there. Um, so that is a bit interesting, and we do have that adult aspect. But again, we've seen adult aspect when it came to Harley Quinn. So I think it's an okay introduction. It's just like, let's get to Superman. If the Superman trailer never existed, I would say, okay, that's cute. What else do you have? But we do know that there are other things that are in the lineup. But we are just focusing on this series for the moment, and I think that it's okay. I know that you're waving that flag of greatest show ever exists, and I think that is a good introduction. But I've not so far been blown away, and it's only been 4 episodes. I think that I do love the tone. I do love the fact that we have all of these different characters, which then again, we're getting these different personalities on screen. But again, we've kind of seen that when it came to Guardians of the Galaxy or any other meetup. We can go back to Justice League or Flash, where we've seen, different pairings of chemistries and trying to get that to work. And I do feel that it's okay. I'm just afraid that that is kind of going to be his one trick pony when it comes to this new DC iteration, in terms of here's more teams, here's more people, but it's kind of the same thing. Oh, we're weird, we're quirky, this is dark and brooding. No, I'm funny. I will see. So we're going to talk about the first episode. Right off the bat, this was shockingly, was not a very long episode. We're introduced to basically the Creature Commandos, the team. What were your initial thoughts on this team? Some that we've seen before in, say, other iterations of things, Weasel and Amanda Waller. So, what were your thoughts?
So the introduction, I got that same vibe and that same. It's almost like they recycled the intro for Suicide Squad or the Suicide Squad, the way James Gunn introduced them in that. So it didn't seem like anything special to me. In fact, it felt probably a little bit more rushed because it's a 30-minute, less than a 30-minute episode. So I didn't feel so crazy about it. It's good. Obviously, you're gonna have to introduce your characters in some way, shape, or form. So the way they did it was just like Suicide Squad, perfectly fine. But it did feel rushed. I was a bit confused, not so much anymore, but I was a bit confused before the show aired about having Weasel and Amanda Waller and Rick Flag Sr. show up. Mostly because James Gunn has said that these characters are canon and the Suicide Squad is canon, which threw me for a loop because if the Suicide Squad is canon, that means our Margot Robbie Harley Quinn is canon. And if Margot Robbie Harley Quinn is canon, then that means Jared Leto Joker is canon. And I'm just like, ugh, I don't like that idea. But erase that thought because James Gunn has said he's picking and choosing what's canon and what's not, which is why shows like Peacemaker is going to be canon, but not all of it, because he still wants him to have killed Rick Flag Jr. And he still wants him to be a part of the show and everything, which it's interesting to figure out now, but also kind of doesn't make sense that now the fans have to kind of figure out what's canon and what's not. But at the same time, I guess it's kind of cool because now we can debate and talk about these type of things, like what's canon and what's not. But it does confuse the casual audience, I would think, like trying to figure things out. But regardless of all that, that first episode, that's how I feel about it. It was a bit rushed, but it was still nice to have a small introduction.
Yeah, no, I kind of do understand, and it does break your brain sometimes. It hurts when you have to think about canon and not canon and cleaning up someone else's mess and starting something anew, but having characters that you do like. And it's like, oh, you're picking and choosing your favorites. And it's like, but what about our favorites? And so it's a situation I don't ever want to kind of really be in, because there's no way to win at all when you really look at it. So it's just like, just go with your plan and full steams ahead and see what ends up happening. But I do appreciate some of the concepts behind it and some of the ideas. So from my understanding, this felt like it was a continuation of his Suicide Squad that we just finished off. And I was slightly confused about where does Peacemaker come into this, because Amanda Waller was ratted out by her daughter, which we do know in the series she's just kind of ratted out by her daughter. When it comes to the Suicide Squad or Suicide Squad, I think it's the Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad. So with this one, because she's no longer allowed to use humans for her operations, she has to use monsters. So this is how we get into the gods and monsters theme, which then kind of makes me wonder, what is season 2 about? Unless that's just Peacemaker's personal journey. I guess I'm confusing the Suicide Squad with Peacemaker. You see, it's so many different shows. I'm old. Jesus. So Amanda Waller can no longer use humans. She has to use these monsters, and these monsters, of course, that they were in a facility that are locked away and nobody really knows about, is a secret project. Blue, blue, blue. Basically the same thing that we've seen before. Within that, we are introduced to G.I. Robot, who is James Gunn's G.I. Robot is played by Sean Gunn. We have Bride of Frankenstein, Weasel, which we've seen before. Dr. Phosphorus. also Sean Gunn. Let me see if I can pull up this picture here, since you're keeping up for someone who's like, who's in this movie, this TV show.
It's okay. It's just a quick look. It's all that's needed.
You're doing good. I'm proud of you. So that's a plus right there.
There you go. Oh, perfect.
There we go. Oh, no, I just hit us. Did I hit us? Wait, hold up. It's the wrong photo. I don't like technology.
Oh, no,
Lord Jesus, gone. Just be with me. Now everything's gone. You're going to have to just be with me. All right, let's go back to the first plan. So there we go. We have right here in the contour of something. All right, so we have G.I. Robot, which is Sean Gunn, all the way over to my right. So I think that's the right. Then we have Bride of Frankenstein. Well, we're just moving all over the place. Who is number 4th in line going left. Played by Indira Varma. She was the lovely lady from the Game of the Thrones. Oh, we have Weasel, who, right? She's just so pretty. Anyway, we have Weasel, Sean Gunn, again. Dr. Phosphorus, who is played by Alan Tudyk. You know his face. Everyone does. There's Nina McCursky, who's played by Zoe Chow, who would be the second all the way to the left. Then we have Eric, who is David Harbour. Everyone knows him. I love the fact that he's doing both DC and Marvel. It's just lovely. There is Princess Ileana, who doesn't understand the definition of no means no, and please stop, who is played by Maria Barkova. We also have Circe, who we all know from the Greeks anthology. I was very surprised to see that mixture in there.
Another gorgeous girl from the Witcher series.
Well, now she is played by Anya very long last name, respectfully. And then, of course, we have Rick Flag Sr., which I think I already probably announced, but that is played by Frank Grillo.
Mm.
So that is the cast that we are working with. And I do have to say this, that I love the cast. I think that they're fabulous. I love the acting. I love the different, because the different voice. You have to pay more attention to the voice because obviously it's animation, and I do love how they express themselves much differently. I love how everyone's tone comes across differently. So I do appreciate that. I do. I kind of like some of these characters here. Kind of going off the bat right here, and it's really interesting that she would choose these characters. Well, it is what it is, but I like the different array and how it surprises us with the characters that are shown. So, going off with this team right here, um, how do you even feel about this mixture?
Yeah, it's a really good cast. Not only are they all talented actors, but it's just also just the fact that they're all very different in some sense, and that makes things interesting with the chemistry for everybody, making everybody very very different and stand out. And I appreciate. I know we'll get through each episode individually, but I appreciate that each episode focuses on one character at a time. So we got some character development, and you appreciate them some more. So they're doing a good job.
Yeah, I do appreciate that, and the fact that this is a series, you can sit around and have that kind of longer storyline period instead of like mushing everyone together for a movie, for example. So I think that that works really well. Um, so I do appreciate that. Um, so we do have again once the return of Task Force M, which is going to be led by Rick Flag Sr. Uh, so it's nice to see Daddy doing this, and obviously this takes place before. I don't know where this takes place, but we do know the son is dead
Oh, this takes place
in this
after
situation.
the Suicide Squad movie.
It is after the son.
Yeah,
Okay,
because he already mentions he died.
okay,
The son
yeah,
died.
he did mention that, and I was like, okay, okay.
Mhm.
So yes, it takes place after the Suicide Squad. We're introduced to the father. We already saw the son. The son was kind of boring, so I like the father. If we're being a little bit honest. I like the father when it comes to this. We see that we're in Pol. This is Polkolistan, which I am pretty sure that I butchered that name.
Yeah. Oh
But
no.
we in Polkolistan. I am dyslexic, and we're meeting with the country's ruler, who is Princess Elena. And we thought we was gonna get that big showdown, but instead it was like a big ha ha hoedown situationship. So I like the fact that they were greeting and they had everyone at the dinner. And then, it was really interesting how we have the bride goes off in her little corner. Dr. Phosphorus is sitting up there engaging with Rick Flag Sr. With Rick Flag, sorry. We have kind of the explanation of how the bride was created. There was a lot that they did touch on in this episode. And then we have older woman who ends up calling Frankenstein, who was looking for his bride. So there was a lot of things kind of going on at once. So then I guess we kind of take off first. One thing was the big main story was the bride and Frankenstein. How did you feel about that series? It talked about, in 1931, that he basically, Eric demanded that Dr. Frankenstein, because people tend to get that confused, create him, build him a wife. And so this was the corpse. And this is not something that was lovey dovey. I welcome you and I love you. This was obviously pure terror and fear, which I appreciated. So, kind of, what was your thoughts on that? And then, kind of learning in the present through the bride and Nina that, this is the old manor in which she came from. And kind of she rejected him and going through that emotions of living through her creation. And remember that she was once dead. So she is living
Mhm.
a life against her will.
Mhm. Well, I think I think that was really the initial reaction to her waking up and being in horror of this
Mm-hmm.
giant Frankenstein. She wasn't like I don't think she was like disgusted and she was like, oh my god, I don't want this man. I think she was thinking, what the hell just happened? I just woke up and I was wherever it is I was, and now I'm
Mm-hmm.
this monstrous thing. But and obviously they touch on what was Frankenstein's name? The monster.
Eric.
Eric. Eric was,
Mhm.
since the moment she was alive, or even before actually, because he was putting her together, he was enamored, like obsessed with this woman. So of course he's gonna take it personally. So it makes a lot of sense that he took it personally for her screaming. But I really liked and enjoyed. They're doing like old school Frankenstein type story with a bit of a twist, because I did not expect
Mhm.
whew, Dr. Frankenstein to be shacking it up with Bride of Frankenstein, and then afterwards Frankenstein kills her. Or Eric kills him. Sorry, um, out of a fit of jealousy and everything. So that was a bit unexpected and a nice little twist and touch. I like that part. So it kind of just shows how nuts Eric is and how much the bride is suffering through this new life because of Eric and everything. So it explains a lot about her personality and why she's kind of just all in it for herself, and why she's like this tough person. It's just she's no nonsense and doesn't take crap from people, and yeah, it was a cool story. Explains a lot about her.
Yeah, I didn't expect to get a Katie Vick episode in there. That was a
Jesus.
bit surprising. I mean,
Uh,
she's technically dead. She
you
is
had to bring
dead.
that up.
Technically, she's dead.
Uh,
The finest of writing right there when it came to WWE. But yeah, no, that was really an interesting twist. And I don't know if that's from any of the comics or even any of the 15 billion books that is, adapted of Frankenstein or Bride of Frankenstein. But that was a really interesting twist. And the fact that he ended up killing his creator because his dead woman that he put together was basically being assaulted. But that's just to show that crime and that passion. And that was really interesting that I would have loved to have known was it seemed that Eric was kind of lonely for a very long time to put this kind of love and passion into basically a woman he never even was created. He loved her before she was created. So I really did like that aspect. And what is interesting is the fact that there were other people looking for him. So I wanted to know, was that out of like a threat? Because that old lady called up. She was like, I don't really want to do this. And he's like, why are you bothering me, old lady?
oh, everybody's afraid of him. I mean, you see how crazy he
Well,
is,
yeah.
and obsessed. And I don't know if he has. I mean, because when he got the phone call, he looked like, I can't remember where he was in, but he looked like he was rich. Oh, he was on a yacht. That's what he
Yeah.
was. So he was in a yacht. So it
Yep.
seemed like he was a rich guy. So he became a powerful guy. So maybe he has not only just the influence through fear, but influence through money to have these people watching over and try to find her.
Yeah, that's very true as well. And he was very determined no matter what, because he chased her for centuries, like, you're gonna be mine. And she's like, no.
I have this theory of mine when all that was going on. I'm wondering if he's this obsessed with her because he's just stuck on an idea of her. And if Bride were to ever give him a chance, let's say down the road, I wonder if he's just gonna be like, I don't want you anymore. I think I enjoyed. I think I enjoyed the chase more than the actual like achievement, and then they kind of split off or something like that. Because some guys are like that, to be honest. Let's be honest. Some guys are
Yeah,
like that.
no.
So I have a feeling that's something that's gonna go down at some point, or she's probably gonna annoy the hell out of him. He's gonna be fed up and wants to leave.
See, but that's what makes it really good because I
Yeah.
like that fact. It's like I love the idea of you, and now I can't stand you, but now we're stuck in this team, and I hate
Mm-hmm.
you. Why don't you die? And it's like, bitch, I did die in an episode technically, but you keep bringing me back. Um, so yeah, that would be a really interesting concept, and I really do like that. But then, kind of going on with that, there was this whole interesting scene where she doesn't die, but she's thrown off of the building after a fight with what is it? Is it Cersei? I think it's
Yes.
Cersei.
Yes.
It's Cersei. Um, so that's really interesting to seeing that we already see that the team can't, parts of the team that just don't like each other right there, and she is not dead, obviously, but we have that big fight where it just seemed like that was the moment that I genuinely was like, oh, she's gonna die. That's kind of sad. And then we're done with this character. And we have
Mhm.
seen Sean Gunn like bring characters before and then just like, nah, you're all dead.
About the whole
So
Suicide Squad.
oh damn. And they did press tours. That's what made it even more funny. They did whole press tours with press conferences and interviews and like, why are you being so coy? Well, it must be really good and really secretive. It's like you're dead in like the first 5 minutes of the movie. That was terrible, but amazing. But yeah, so I really did like that kind of aspect of the storytelling there. And then, we kind of also get Rick Flag Sr. and Ileana situationship, which was just weird. It was like none of the other men here can please me like you can.
Hmm.
And he's like, no, please stop. Please come. And she's like coming in the room with no clothes on.
I have a question
How
with
did you?
that. Have we
Yeah,
established how old she is?
no, we have not.
I
Are we
just don't
really
think.
going about age of consent with a cartoon here now?
Not age of consent because obviously they both consent, but it's just so
Well,
strange because we're talking about a guy who's old enough to be somebody's grandpa versus a girl who's probably just out of her teens. Like, and that's what it seems like to me. Like she's probably just like
see.
hit 20 years old or some crap. So I don't, it was a bit weird for me. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But this is a cartoon and
Yeah.
this is fantasy. And let's not, do that situation with this.
I'm still
I think we're
enjoying the
taking a
show. I mean,
little
the show.
too
I'm not. I'm
far.
not. I'm not gonna go up in arms with censorship or some crap because of that. But I'm just saying, just it's just like I don't know what I'm supposed to feel with this. Like she's supposed to be a hot girl and he's a hot guy, and then they're supposed to bang, and that's pretty much it. And it's just like I don't think I need any of that to like establish any of this. Like I could have done without it, all
Right.
of this part. So I don't know why it was put in here in the first place.
So do you feel that that entire like I don't even want to say situation ship. Like I don't overall don't understand. Like you could argue and say, oh, she lust after him, and then
Mhm.
he just gives in, and it's like it's not a relationship. It's just
No,
we're stuck together, and he didn't say no, even though he said
I
no.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure she's just she's very sheltered, so she's just deprived of having a little bit of fun. So I think that's what she was taking advantage of. Either that or she's using it as a manipulation tactic because we all know what happens in the last episode. She's possibly a villain,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's true too. And then kind of was really interesting. Also, I wanted to bring up was the character of Cersei. So they did a great job at like we have the Bride of Frankenstein and Eric, but then also with Cersei. Cersei believes that she is the true ruler of the Amazonian island of that place. The mascara.
that was
I
scary.
think I'm
Yeah.
pronouncing it wrong.
Hmm.
Right. So which we also already know of Wonder Woman, but no woman here. But we do know of Wonder Woman, and she believes that she is the true heir of that. And that because of that, she has aligned herself. This is kind of the whole reason in the beginning for this. She aligned herself with the sons of Themyscira to kind of take over the entire nation. She's staging a coup, essentially. And it should be interesting. So the goal is to like she's gonna be there with them as they take over kind of this nation, and she's gonna be the ruler of the taking over part. And this is how we end up with the confrontation between Cersei and Elena, because she's the princess. So that should be interesting. Um, Elena, as you said, oh, she's so innocent and young, but we clearly see that she's not. And I believe she has more up her sleeve because it's like it's a god. And it's not a god versus a regular old human. We know that that's not the case. So it will be interesting to find out what her true intentions are and her full powers when they come there. So what do you think of kind of that dynamic?
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's allowing us to figure out who's telling the truth, who's not, who's really a villain of the story, and who's not. So it gets people talking and speculating. So that's always fun. You know, when things get predictable, things get stale, things get boring. So if you're second guessing certain characters and their alliances, then that makes it a better show.
Right. And then that also kind of explains why she attacked Bride, and then she ends up attacking Nina as well. So it's like by that end of the episode, we
Mhm.
kind of understand there are things going on within the group, and people are trying to take over different things. So that is an interesting kind of dynamic that ends up happening all at the manor. So that should be interesting to see how that ends up being played out. And we kind of already discussed that the relationship between Bride and Frankenstein, or sorry, Eric and the bride is a mess. It's not even a relationship. She's just, please get away from me. And he's like, I love you.
He's a stalker.
Yeah, he's a stalker, and this is very toxic. So we have some toxic relationships that is going on that I can appreciate because everything is not lovey and dovey and oh my god, this is amazing. So I do
Yeah.
appreciate kind of that dynamic. It is not, for example, Joker and Harlequin, which is toxic in itself, but it's interesting to see how that ends up becoming, and I wonder if like the bride is gonna like fend off Frankenstein Eric and how that's gonna end up playing out. But we will see for that. Um, it's stalking. Seriously, there's some bad stalking going on. So then kind of that was kind of the
I'm sure
wrap
they'll
up.
hook up. They'll hook up
Yep.
eventually.
Uh, well, yeah, yeah, I do. I just hope that it's like out of hate
Yeah,
because
that's
that would make it
exactly what I
so
was
much better.
picturing. Actually, kind of like
Yeah,
one thing that comes to mind was Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You know, like that scene where they're all fighting each other and they're arguing, and then they end up fighting, and then they just end up knocking boots and still destroying everything at the same time. So it's just like that angry passion.
yeah. Ugh. So that is interesting. So
Good reaction.
why not? Why not? I don't think the old DC studios would do this. So why not?
Yeah,
It's
true.
animated. Does it really count? So yeah, still. So they kind of lead off into the episode too. Nina is, which is the fish with the helmet, is almost basically dead, along with Bride, which they end up obviously living because I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I did like that little cliffhanger. I thought it was very cute. So then kind of going into the new episode, that was episode 2, 3. So kind of like
What?
that first introduction for the Creature Commandos. That was the first half.
Episode Episode 2 was more focused on GI Robot, and 3, I think, was
Yeah,
when we saw Nina and the
Weasel.
bride on the floor.
Right. So then we got to go on with that, and then so kind of going off with oh sorry, GI Robot,
Hmm.
and he passion for Nazis. I have never seen someone wake up every morning. We're gonna kill some Nazis today. Are you a Nazi, sir? Have you joined the Nazi party? How do you spell the Nazis? He was very passionate about finding and killing his Nazis, and you kind of understood why. So, what was your thoughts on like GI Robot and his situationship and love for
I
Nazis? Well,
thought
hatred for
I
Nazis.
I thought he was funny. I
Mm-hmm.
thought uh, I for a moment there before I found out that Sean Gunn was voicing him, I truly thought for a while that he was voiced by Nathan Fillion because he sounded like Nathan Fillion there, and
Mm.
he gave that comical vibe of Nathan Fillion. So, but of course I was wrong, but it's still a compliment because both of them are doing amazing jobs. So, and Nathan Fillion is one of my favorite voice actors. So, but the story of GI Robot was the
Mm-hmm.
most cliche, most generic story, But it's just like you said, in the last thing we discussed about, it's not about them reusing stories. It's about how they present it. As long as we're presenting it in a way that pulls us in, then it'll work. And that's exactly what it was with GI Robot. It was just like it was. If you told me about this robot story in the most generic way possible, I would have been bored with this guy. I would not care whatsoever. But viewing everything that he's done, funny and not, because he was, he's gone for a while. He's put out commission for a while, and then he got reactivated again, and he was with a guy, and he was living with some cats and stuff and having a good time developing a family, it seemed like. And then all of a sudden you find out he brings them to a Nazi rally, and you can see it almost in his face. He has an expressionless face, but you can see it in his face. He's like, ooh, I'm gonna have to kill you guys now. And he does. And it's just complete chaos. And I loved it.
That was actually so funny because it's really interesting. Like, you can have a robot and it's like, oh, okay, he's designed for a purpose. He was designed for combat in World War II to kill Nazis. And like, they loved him, you could see him like, here's some beer, and like, woo, we're one of the guys. And you could see that was his passion, because that was what he was controlled. That's what he was programmed to do and to be. And getting decommissioned is like, oh no, he's gonna always remember that because it's part of his programming. It's not like they tinkered with him. And the fact, like you said, that they happened to go to a Nazi rally, and he's like, oh, you're Nazis. Oh, you're Nazis. And that kind of like hesitation when he pulls out the gun, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? That's your friend. That's your buddy. And then I realized, Nazis in today's society, because it's no hesitation. It's like, oh, we're back in World War II. Oh, but look, today, Nazis. And like, his programming is like, it kicked right in. Like, screw the good times we had, the cats, everything else. You're Nazis. Yep. And so that scene where he's just basically destroying everyone, I kind of wish that was a little bit longer. It kind of, to me, had little hints of, remember Kingsman with that church scene?
Yeah. I
wish that we could have had like a full Kingsman thing, because that would have been glorious. But he's just blasting away, and it's a weird thing where it's like, he's happy. He's like, I'm killing Nazis again. This is my purpose. Woo!
By the way, speaking of happy, I get this and correct me if I'm wrong, like if you don't get this feeling at all, completely understand. But I get this very strange feeling that he's gonna be a love interest for Nina.
He is.
Just the way like they were interacting with each other up until like he blew up, and I don't know if he died. I'm sure he'd be back because he's a robot, but like he blew up. But this entire time he had an interaction with Nina, like there was something go behind like those words.
Remember the whole bathtub scene?
Sure, but nothing happened.
She was in the bath. Nothing happened, but you could feel it.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like that's what I was just like. Yeah. You're trying to develop something right now, aren't you?
I mean, he is a programmed robot man. So she's
we don't know what he's capable of. He's capable of change and maybe going beyond that prime objective. And she's a fish that is just the kids. That'll be weird.
Oh, this is not a children's show. I mean,
no. I mean, I don't know what the children will be like. Robot fish. How does that work?
God. I don't. I'm like, why are you having your toddlers in the room watching this show? No, not everything needs to procreate. It's okay.
Yeah.
Lord. Yeah, no. So I do like that, and I did see that. I was like, this is going to be an interesting matchup. But usually it is the others, the ones that are considered others, that find each other. So a robot and a fish, it works. I appreciate it, and will end up happening. I know what happened, and I don't think he's dead. He can't be dead. I mean, he can be dead because it's James Gunn, but it wouldn't make any sense for him to be dead.
He'll be back.
Yeah. He'll be back. He's a robot. You just screw everything back together and he's good to go.
It's a little duct tape.
So I do like the fact that he has a purpose now again. He had the Nazis, he was decommissioned, he found Nazis again, and then Task Force M came along and was like, random
I,
robot, here we go.
I do like that moment where they're all fighting in the castle and oh geez, what's GI Robot? He goes to Rick
Mhm.
Flag Senior. He's like, "Hey, are those Nazis?" And Rick Flag's like, "Yes, yes, they are." That's again chaos.
Yeah, hello. So I do kind of like the fact that we're getting that weird chaos. It's just a different form. It's now an animation, but it still works and it's a humor. One of the things I wanted to bring up really quickly because I will forget. James Gunn, as we all know, is a fan and is a passion for music. I love the music in this series. So, did
I
you
don't
feel
pay it
that it was
too
too
much
much?
mind. No, no, no. I don't think it's too
Mm.
much because I don't pay it too much mind. Um, yeah, none of it comes to mind really. I assume that he's still using like retro, like old school music, like maybe 80s, 90s
Yeah.
type stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't paid music any mind really.
I'm not like a music aficionado, but it
Hmm.
does kind of sound like that punk rock, you know, 80s era.
Mm.
So not necessarily this was before emo, but oh gosh, I don't know the name of bands, but I'm just thinking of a lot of hair gel where it's like
Yeah,
spiky hair gel.
yeah,
It's that kind of music. I can even argue kind of like the UK scene of punk rock.
yeah. I see. Okay, I see what you mean.
It kind of gives me that feel
Mm.
a little bit. Again, I don't know names, but I just know that feel to me. So I do kind of like the mix of the music, and it's something that's much different. It's not a standard, a typical like all of a sudden they're fighting, and here comes I don't know Drake or shiny happy people,
Whatever is popular right now.
whatever is popular right now at the moment. We're not getting that. It just feels like something that is very stylized and it works in very well for me with the episode. And we do know because he stated before, he writes to music. So he will put the music in his script and then
Hmm.
deal with copyright later. So I did like how it worked for me. And I think that it worked very well with the fight scenes and even with the introductions, because it has that intro, which you don't pay attention to. So I did like that part. But I really did kind of like the robot, and we're getting more layers too. He's a robot, but he's an onion. We're getting those layers to him. So I did appreciate that. I did like that. And again, I still kind of like up I like the different, storylines that are going up. And, it does still continue with the fact that Princess Elena is going to go to war with Cersei. And I'm like, what's your powers going to be? Because it says God. She's a god or something. And we know Cersei is part of that. She's in that Greek mythology. There's a whole lovely series about her somewhere. Um, yeah, and Nina has that bond with GI, and maybe he's going to be happy and discover life outside of killing Nazis that can bring equal happiness as killing Nazis. So I'm happy to see how that can be. And then Sean Gunn. I know a lot of people argue the fact that oh my God, you're using the same people, but when they're good, they're good.
Hmm. Shouldn't matter.
So it really shouldn't matter if Sean Gunn is good. So be it if that's his brother and it's the
Yeah.
same person that we've seen before. You're good,
I
you're
think
good.
if he was bad, then you could say
Mm-hmm.
it's a nepo thing. But I think Sean Gunn still would have done well if James Gunn wasn't even involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you. So then kind of going off, we have episode 4, which, James Gunn stated that it was the hardest for him to write. It made him cry.
Mhm.
I didn't really feel that, but I understood why he said that. That was the Weasel episode
Mhm.
where trying to be a savior, but because you look like a rabid
Monster.
poison rat, a monster, this is how they treat you. And it was kind of sad. What were your thoughts on this episode?
This was sad, and we talked about this
Mm-hmm.
before also about James Gunn when we were doing the Superman thing. James Gunn is an animal lover. He's very good at pulling the heartstrings when it comes to animals because he did it with Rocket Raccoon, and this was no
And the
different.
other
I don't.
three.
And what are the three? Oh, the other three
We
animals with
say
Rocket.
the
Yeah,
other three animals. We say
yeah,
Rocket, but Rocket lost his soul.
yeah.
Three of them.
Cosmo's
Jesus.
there. Cosmo was another one, but uh, I I'm not gonna say that this was bad in any sense, but like it
Hmm.
pulled at the heartstrings still. It wasn't as emotional as Rocket, but I think that was mostly because we have been with Rocket for so long in these movies and spin-offs. So obviously there's more of an emotional attachment, but Weasel was very close to being there already. Nobody knows Weasel's
Hmm.
origin yet. Like we just know now. Now it's established that he did not kill these kids. He didn't eat these kids. He doesn't eat kids on a regular basis. So he's actually
On a
fairly
regular basis.
lovable, just a bit stupid and a bit out there. But we don't know a thing about him, and I feel so bad for him. I think that's the biggest part of it is that because of the way that he acts and he just doesn't think. I feel bad for the guy, if he even is a guy, whatever he is. We'll find
Creature.
out at some point. I hope he's a creature now. They hinted at the fact that he possibly used to be a guy, I guess, because they're naming
Yeah.
him John Doe, and
Hmm.
that woman that he's with, I don't know, what was he like a caretaker, a lawyer, a doctor, I
Yeah.
don't know who she was, but she kept on saying him, and he used to be a person, and we're just naming him John Doe for now until we can figure out who he is. And then Rick Flag's like, what do you mean who he is? He's a weasel, like there's nothing else to it. And she's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So I hope we find out more. It was really sad just to find out that he was trying to protect those kids.
Yeah. No, that was absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, it was sad what did happen. And it also just goes to show, it's really interesting because it's like it does look like a big rabid animal is attacking the
Mhm.
children. So in a way, you kind of understand their thought process of shoot the darn thing
Oh yeah.
because you don't know, this big creature like, and it's hovering
But
over a
but
child. So it's
here's the
yeah,
thing though, like even what bothered me about the scene where he's trying to save the kids is that immediately when you barge through a door, the cops barge through the door, they see the kid in Weasel's mouth and the whole place is freaking burning at this point. Why do you shoot first when there's a kid in the mouth? Like if this was like, I mean, we know about a lot of horror stories with cops, so a lot of cops right now they're doing a lot of dumb things, but like these cops did not think whatsoever that they might hit the child first. Like, I don't care how horrifying a monster is. I'm not going to shoot first when I see a child out in the open about to die with this fire or possibly this monster.
but counterpoint, you could easily just run off and drag the kid away. So my goal would be to neutralize you, which I don't think of shooting in the foot. The thing was huge.
Yeah.
So I can understand the immediate reaction of shoot first. Obviously, you're not going to try to aim for the child. It wasn't like he was using the child as like a shield. It was in his mouth. You could shoot it and say the head. He would drop. The child would drop.
Well, we're not talking about highly trained assassins here. We're talking about some country cops. Like they're not going to have the best
Regular
aim in the
Pookie
world.
and them could shoot him, and Pookie and them could just be like, "Boom! You gonna take? You are American. You know that they shoot the cans every day,
Oh
and look at
yes,
all
I
these
know.
shootings in America. That's how you get your training. Come on now. We just had a shooting,
Hmm.
so we shoot when we can shoot. When we don't shoot is when we don't shoot. But when we shoot, we tend to hit the mark. So I think that they would be okay with like shooting a huge weasel. But it is a very sad situation because as we know, he's a big thing. He cannot speak. He looks like he's human sized. He looked like he has rabies and fleas and all kinds of plagues. He ushered in the Black Plague basically back in the 1800s is what he looked like he did. And also a combination of a big old dog. He is not appeasing in any way. And when you see something like that, you're going to be like, oh my God, run. Um, but it's really interesting that even despite that, And this is kind of where you can see the dog-like behavior. He's very loyal, like a dog, and he likes bonding and having connections with people, like a dog. He's basically an ugly Cosmo or an ugly
Rocket.
what was the crypto?
Oh,
He's an ugly
crypto.
crypto.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, if that kid said home, take me home, he would take her home.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that was just like a really sad episode of like how he was being treated and how it what they made him seem like he was a kid killer and everything else, and he really didn't do any of that, and he's incapable of expressing that. So it will be interesting to see how he is able to express himself more, and maybe he does end up becoming more expressive as the series goes on, as he's mingles with more of these people and monsters and characters. So yeah, in a way, I'm for it. What were your any other thoughts when it kind of came to that? Because it was a lot of things. He proved his innocence.
I mean, he didn't prove it. It was all just a flashback. It was him dreaming.
Well, showed his innocence.
Yeah, yeah.
Nightmare, not
Um,
even a dream. That was a nightmare.
yeah, yeah. I I don't think anything of it. I just think he's still going to continue to be misunderstood because he can't talk and nobody understands him. But I'm sure we're going to get more on his backstory, hopefully his origin, but
Mm-hmm.
also I would hope eventually down the road, whether it be the end of this season or the end of the series or at some point, I don't care when, whether it be live action or
Mm-hmm.
animated, I want him redeemed. I want people to find
Mm-hmm.
out what really happened and he's okay afterwards.
Yeah, like I do kind of agree with that, and this is going to be like a big redemption arc. Hopefully that he does get. I hope that he gets it before he dies. Well, who's to
Hmm.
say he could die and that never happens? And James Gunn, I think, knows how to write sad.
That would be
He can
sad.
he can he can he can write a little sad. Um, yeah, and so he did say like in an interview that he's trying to get at the heart of who Weasel actually is. Um, he's like a big dog. So again, hi crypto. Um, and anyone who has a dog knows that they're incredibly emotional creatures who can experience joy, pain, sadness, and all those things. So that's what I'm trying to get to the heart at when we're recording Weasel. So he also stated that he's a one big goofball. And we do see him interact. We saw him interact with the kids, and we saw him interact with the other people. And so it will be interesting, like we kind of already stated, to see how that all plays out. And so
Hmm.
it's interesting that they would give him it, whatever, the kind of, what would you call it? The emotion, not the emotional connection, but like the heart wrenching story
Yeah.
for the series. Where that could have easily been, say, GI Robot in terms of
Yeah.
District 9.
Yeah.
He got more of the comical, like, let's just kill Nazis version. While
Hmm.
Weasel got like this entire, sadness that was going on with the whole situationship. So that I do like that part. But there were some other things that happened. There was a plan for world domination. So we're finally learning more of what's popping off here. We've seen world domination before when it came to James Gunn. I believe Peacemaker maybe touched upon that in the end of season one. There wasn't there a blob or something. I'm confusing things with things, but
Mm.
world domination tends to go in any kind of superhero
Any comic
show,
book movie.
comic
Yeah, or
book
show.
in general. So here we have with Princess Elena, as we already knew, like, oh, she has something up her sleeve. She's too pretty. Don't trust her. Why is she acting this way? What were your thoughts on kind of that? Not even a plot twist, because it just felt like we were just waiting for that moment for me.
Um, I I know that in hindsight or after the fact already, people won't believe me on this, but I kind of already guessed that she was
Mm-hmm.
gonna be a villain thing. I mean, that's also
Mm-hmm.
cliche in itself of like the innocent, powerful woman ends up being, conniving and leads just not to just the villain stuff. But so I didn't think of anything of it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So are they gonna kill her? What are they gonna do? And that's pretty much all I really cared about. Like I'm not crazy about the princess character. I don't care for her motivations. I don't care for why she's even interested in Rick Flag. Because if she's this rich and powerful and wants world domination anyways, why is she trying to take up a love interest right now? So
She's
I'm wondering
not.
if it's I'm wondering if if it's just a manipulation thing, or maybe there's something else we just don't know about. But regardless, like I just don't really care for it. It's just another cliche villain thing, and I'm hoping it'll surprise me later with something else.
Oh, it does kind of feel like a cliche villain situationship, and no, it is not love. Just because someone rubs up on you in the bathroom and attacks you does not mean that that's
Automatically
love.
loves me.
That is manipulation, Mr. Eric over there. That is called manipulation, and I think that she was just trying to use the task force to, fall under her spell essentially, because Rick Flag is the leader. So have the leader. You'd be like, oh, we need to protect her or whatever it is, blah 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 blah. And then that way is what happened. The thing for me is that she just came across so strong, and I know that it comes to me. It feels like it's being one dimensional. Like it's so easy to see that it's just we know this. And Cersei is like, I'm kind of a clairvoyant, so I already know what's happening. We don't trust her. I don't trust her. Things are going out all wrong. And it was interesting was the fact that Amanda Waller could not see this, but Cersei could. And Amanda Waller is supposed to be like, oh, Miss, I know everything. But she kind of knows nothing, because Cersei was like, ta-da! The whole time.
That was a shocking moment. I always like to see Amanda Waller so stoic and so just serious and just like no nonsense. So for her to see that vision of everybody dead and the war going on, and she freaks out, like that's a noticeable thing for a character. It's just like that's not normal Amanda Waller. So she's genuinely freaked out, which freaks me out. And I'm like, oh crap, this is serious.
I wondered if it freaked her out, because it's like, oh no, I'm gonna be in trouble again. Oh no, I'm dead.
I
Like
messed
to
up
me it was
again.
like, I messed up again. So to me it was kind of like, are we
But
being selfless or selfish?
side note, I gotta mention this. We've confirmed now. I can't remember who confirmed it, but somebody from either the Creature Commando production team, or maybe it was James Gunn himself. But in that flashback, you see the death of the Justice League. You see a bunch of superheroes, like kind of like impaled. It is confirmed now that the Flash in that scene is Wally West. So Wally West will be our Flash in this DC universe, not Barry Allen or anybody else.
Wait, hold up. Because here's the thing. You remember the end of Peacemaker season something? 1, because we're not on 2 yet.
Yeah.
So season 1. So remember at the end, the Justice League showed up. And that's when they kept having the fight, right?
That's not canon anymore.
James, right. He stated that that's not canon. But we do assume that the only person he's probably maybe bringing back would be Barry Allen.
Oh.
But he's not bringing back, so he's not bringing back any of them. But we do know that maybe there's a. Okay, so they're dead.
I mean, I don't know if they're dead. I just think they didn't exist.
Well, they're gone.
Yeah,
they just don't exist. They're in their own little world, whirling. Okay, so they're whirling. But in this series, at the end, where we had that flash of those characters, the only person I'm confused. The only person who's surviving is Billy Wally
West.
Wally West.
No, he didn't survive. He was dead, just along with the rest
of them
in that flashback. In the flashback.
in
not in the show
flashback.
itself, not in the world. In that, not sorry, not flashback. I keep saying flashback. In that vision of
In
everybody
that
dead
vision,
and the war and everyone and that the princess has taken over along with Gorilla Grodd because Gorilla
right?
Grodd was in that vision. The Flash was there and the Flash was dead along with Batman, whoever they choose to be Batman to be.
Okay,
Superman, which is Corn Sweat, and Wonder Woman, whoever that might be, also they were all dead. So,
okay.
but they have
I
confirmed
misunderstood
that
you.
that dead Flash is Wally West, which means
Not
Wally
Barry
West
Allen.
is our Flash. Yes.
Okay, this is what I mean and we've had this discussion before, we're getting convoluted because the average
Yeah.
person is like,
Yeah.
what?
It's
But
like
but
watching Marvel
Justice
stuff
League,
now. You have to watch this in order to
uh,
understand this. In order, you got to watch. Make sure you watch the end credits because then you're connected to this and then to that. I'm just like,
I think that it's probably an age thing. I am tired of having to connect things to.
yeah.
Can I enjoy a cartoon without having to think of a movie that's coming out in 2026 or 25? So David Cornsweet's character was that Superman
Yes.
in that flashback, in that flash forward. So
Yes.
that scene did not happen yet.
No.
That scene is of the future.
Hmm.
And one of the dead characters, David Cornsweet, which we saw as our
Superman.
Superman Clark Kent, is dead in 8052.
Right.
I don't
Yep.
like that. And here's why I don't like that. No, it is so because it reminds me of Marvel. And I'm not saying that they're not going to approach this the same way as Marvel because I don't know what you're going to do. The script could have already been written. I don't know anything. You could have your game plans and your cast members and everything. I don't like when you start dropping Easter eggs years and years into the making. And I
Yeah,
blame
because
Marvel because of how
Marvel
they
did
cheated
that.
us with Thanos.
Yeah, Marvel did that with the Scarlet Witch when the Scarlet Witch had touched. This was during Age of Ultron. Scarlet Witch had touched Tony Stark, and Tony Stark got a vision of all of the. I was going to say the Justice League, the Avengers. They're all dead,
Hmm.
but we never see that. Like not even a hint of it. We never see it. And mind you, it didn't even Thanos wasn't even there. We just see the what do they call those alien species that had attacked in Avengers?
Kree? Was it Kree?
The no, not the Kree. I can't remember, but the alien species that Loki brought upon New York,
Oh, yeah, those.
and yeah, those guys. We only see them. We don't see who killed the Avengers. So we never get to see that vision come to fruition, or at least tease it, at least see that it's coming, and something might happen that might change the course of it. It's just nothing ever happened. So yeah, I get you. That's exactly how I felt about that too.
So James Gunn, you already have a strike against you. You had a plus for that Superman trailer. Now you got a negative 20, minus 20 points for Slytherin because you done showed us this, and it's the same thing that Marvel did, and you went on your whole little rant. We're not going to do anything until the scripts are written. We're not going to announce anything. But you made an announcement that that scene is in the future in 8062.
Well, I mean, they could easily just stop that future from happening as long as they don't let the princess take over, because the princess and Gorilla
That's
Grodd are involved with this. So if they stop them, then you don't have to worry about this future.
like that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that. But why even make the statement like, oh, look, this is our Wally West that's coming in the future? Why not just leave that scene as it is? Y'all talk too
Um.
much. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. They probably shouldn't have confirmed it. They probably should have just let people speculate it. But I know the only reason why they showed this type of flash forward is just to establish the fact that this princess is an actual threat. Like for her to,
Right.
if she takes power, she has the possibility to actually kill Superman,
Right.
and take over the world. So they make it a possible threat for her. But yeah, they could have just stayed shut about the whole Wally West thing and just let people talk until they finally decide, okay, yes, we are gonna go with Wally West. Because yeah, you're right. What if like 2-3 years down the road when they cast somebody, they're gonna be like, oh, we kind of decided we'll probably just stick with Barry Allen. And now that Creatures Commando scene makes no sense, and um, unless they just say, hey, ignore that we said Wally West, just pretend it's Barry Allen. That's probably what they're gonna do.
Oh, I'm gonna say something crazy. I don't want another Barry Allen.
What do you want?
I would prefer Wally West. I'm tired. Respectfully, we had great Barry Allens. Now, feel how you want to feel about the Flash, but I thought it was a very strong picture until it wasn't. That ending was like, oh no. Once he went, I think they could have edited all of that different worlds scene that people was like, this is terrible part at, and just had him with the peas and the carrots. Remember something about the peas? She left the peas on the counter, and then she died with the peas.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been great right there. I don't need to see all other worlds dying and you bringing back all these artificial peoples. That was disrespectfulness. But we already had the TV series. We have had the Flash movie. I'm okay. We
I
had.
All right.
I'm good.
Well, so, and this is still debatable. Of course, all of comic is debatable, but Wally West is pretty much known as the fastest Flash. So I would love to see a Wally West and see if they can do something different from what they did with uh, Barry Allen. What's the actor's name? The crazy dude.
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller, yeah. I love Grant
Ezra
Gustin as
Miller.
the Flash, by the way. His Barry Allen is great, and I think it was very well received. But I'm good with Miller being done. No more Barry Allen. I think Wally West would be cool, especially because he's the fastest. You could see some new stuff done with the Flash that we've never seen before, and plus we have a new
Mm-hmm.
character and a new character development. So I'm no more Barry Allen. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it works for me. And we also had a great Wally West in the Flash series.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was a cute little one right there. But yeah, so bring it back. Bring back a Wally West and give us a different kind of character from it. We don't need Barry Allen. Rest in peace, Barry Allen. He's with his mama in his peace. So it all works out. Um, yeah, so it does there. I don't think there was any other big revelations from my notes that I done took down. But overall, how was your thoughts on episode Quato?
Fun. It's still fun. Things are developing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
liking the show a lot. I'm actually also really liking this trend that these streaming services are having nowadays of having a weekly content now again. Like I miss those days
Mm-hmm.
of looking forward to something every week. So I like that Creature Commandos. I have to wait till the next week for the next one. There's like an anime show I mentioned before, Dan Dan Dan. That's a weekly
Dun, dun,
show,
dun,
so
dun,
I have to look
dun.
forward to it. I have to look forward to it every Thursday. So like we did the review for Penguin, and Penguin we had to wait every week. So I love that. Like
Mm-hmm.
we got to talk about it, and then we wait a week, we speculate, we anticipate, and then we have fun with it, and then we wait again. It's just that cycle. It's like almost like getting a hit of that drug, just little by little. It's just feeling good. So instead of binging it all at once, and then you don't know what to do with your life anymore.
Dear children, that was called TV back in the
That was
1800s.
television. Yes.
You had to, except for there were no streaming services. So if you missed it, God bless, you
Hope for
missed
a
it.
rerun at some point.
Hope for a rerun at like 4 in the morning.
Yep.
That was called TV. Or, as the great grandpas would do, they would get this little plastic thing. It was rather bulky and thick, and they would hook it up to their TVs with a big back on it, and they would put in this device that was a recorder. They called it a VCR, and with a cassette. And they would have to press the record button. And you better not re-record the episode, or else there goes that episode.
Yep. Tape over
So
it.
those were the good old days. That was what we called physical media back then. Mm. But yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I do like the whole weekly TV. And also what I really like is the podcast. They do have a podcast that drops with each episode.
Oh,
They kind
do
of
they?
breaks down and explain. Yeah, you see, your ADHD, you gotta focus with the podcast. They did that for the Penguin as well. They did that with a lot of things.
Mm.
They even do it for like Sex in the City. So everybody has a podcast, and they just podcasting on the cast, and it works out that way. And you get to learn more about the episode and the creation of the characters, and their goals and hearts and dreams. So it works out, and I really do like that. But I do have to agree. I am liking the show more. At first, I was like, man, it's all over the place. But now I'm kind of like, I'm intrigued. We have a overarching theory, not theory. What's that word? An overarching plot,
Theme? Okay.
theme, plot in terms of take over the world. We're gonna manipulate this team to help us take over the world. Why them? Nobody knows really, but still it's an interesting plot. And then inside of that we have all of these different characters and their backstories and their own connections with each other. That should be interesting. And then the male noir is just in the background saying, oh, but I screwed up again. So I like it. I approve. Overall, I thought this was a very good series. All over the place sometimes when it came to emotion and tone, but it worked for me.
Yeah.
So look forward to what's to come with the other episodes. That should be a lot of fun.
We'll talk
So
about
is
those
there
at
any
some
other?
point.
Yeah. What? Oh yeah,
No, I was gonna say
we
we'll
should.
talk about those future episodes at some point.
Indeedy. Was there any other things that you wanted to mention? Any other
That's it. Just
1855 projects?
keep an eye out on the coalition so we could freaking talk about this some more. Hopefully, another couple episodes show up and we could talk about it.
We will talk about that, and then we'll end up with the Supermans, and then it'll be
Mhm.
really interesting because he did say once again he did say some of these characters will appear in live action versions, which is why we're getting head first live action Weasel. We're getting cartoon Weasel. So it's convoluted and confusing, but it's gonna work, hopefully. So that is kind of been our episode. He's crossing his fingers, shooting up the guns for America, the pew pews. So once again, I've been Dana, joined by Mr. Danny of the Martinez, and we will see you whenever we see you. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, and leave us your comments on what you thought about the first 4 episodes of the series. Peace.